Hi there, everybody. Thanks very much, and welcome to week 3 of Holding Difficult Conversations, our 10-week course. Congratulations on keeping going. It's great. We're into week 3, a third of the way through-ish. This week's about managing thoughts about ourselves, which seem to follow on very clearly from last week's course, which was about managing thoughts about others. I think there's something very crucial about this week, because I really believe that this is really all about us rather than about other people and how we manage our relationship with other people. It starts and ends with us, and there's plenty of stuff out there. If we follow this line of thinking, that other people are ourselves. We talked very much last week about projecting stuff onto other people. And many people will say to us that we see in others what we don't like in ourselves, whether or not we adopt that particular principle. But when we have problems with other people, there's a danger that we see that as a problem about them, when actually it's probably a problem about us. And therefore, it gives us responsibility, I think, to do something with that. It's also very useful because, we can do things about ourselves when actually we can't change other people necessarily. They can change themselves, but we can't. And actually, the harder we try, the more resentful, the more trouble we might find ourselves in. So it starts and ends with us. So managing thoughts about ourselves in conflict might be really crucial in being able to be successful. So we're going to look at 3 elements really this week. Firstly, that a suggestion that we are our thoughts, our thoughts makers. Another one that is we are not necessarily our history, that we all have history in relation to conflict, but we don't necessarily have to be guided, we don't have to be pinned down, we don't have to be, it doesn't have to force us down a particular track, a particular response to conflict, because how we deal with conflict will be part of our background. And just finally, let's just give ourselves a break, shall we, about all this. This is tough stuff. Let's be kind to ourselves in relation to conflict. So there we are. That's the kind of agenda for this week. So we are our thoughts. What we say about conflict describes what we think about it. If we say, well, we ask somebody, how do you get on with people that you let's say they're people who work in the front desk of a reception area, and they are open to all sorts of difficulties. We say, how do you get on with that then? And they'll tell us something about it. They describe what they think about it. Well, that's great. And what we say about conflict might also influence how we respond. Very simply, if we say to ourselves, oh, we're not very good at this, I'm not very good about this, I'm not very good at it at all, I get frightened, I get flustered and what have you, that will influence how we manage it. So perhaps we have an opportunity here to say something a bit different. Maybe we can start saying to ourselves, well, when people are angry, I manage to stay calm. Or I am getting better at helping to explain things to people who are cross. We might start saying, I can stay calm when others don't. We might start just developing a different narrative about how we manage conflict. And I'm going to suggest in our exercise today that that's what we do. We start to develop a different narrative about how we manage conflict. And that responds to an idea that we are our thoughts, that we create our world by what we think. And it gives us an opportunity because we can't change what we tell ourselves about ourselves. We are our thoughts. Secondly, we are not necessarily our history. We might have early life experiences of conflict. We all may have that. I mean, it's true of all of us, isn't it? We might find ourselves in a situation where nobody talks about disagreement. It just isn't talked about. It's kind of buried. Or maybe even small areas of conflict in our family of origin blew up into something really frightening, or maybe even really dangerous. It might be even really dangerous. I had this experience when I was a child of my next door neighbour and the person that lived over the road from me were sisters, and they didn't speak throughout my entire childhood. I think I was probably 13 or 14 before I was told that they were sisters, and one of them died, um, and the other died, and uh, recognition that they were um, they were sisters. So there for them, the whole experience of having conflict, of falling out, of having an argument, a disagreement, it meant it would never be resolved. It meant it could never be resolved. It's kind of heartbreaking, really. But then again, we might have had experience that says that actually to have an argument ends in violence or ends in real harm. Or if we're really lucky, we might have been brought up in a family where people are able to show their emotions, show their feelings, and also be able to resolve that, to be able to sit and listen to one another in the end, and that can be kind of really a great experience to have. We might be influenced by our early experiences, we might not have, but we're good to recognise the fact that we have them. We may have been socialised to behave a certain way in conflict. And I think some examples, different cultures, certainly different family cultures or different national cultures, being open with your disagreement seems to be more of the norm. I think we have an idea, and I don't know if it's true, that there's a sort of stiff upper lip in British society. There's also something about gender and how we're socialised. I think for many men, they equate conflict or difficulty or difference of opinion or arguments with violence. I think certainly when I was brought up in a working class part of South Wales where really you wouldn't, if somebody slighted you or somebody put you down, that if you didn't do violence at that point, then you were weak, you were unmanly, and so very much conflict was to be met with force. Actually, that was how I was brought up, and I think not true of all men, but it's certainly true of many. So we might have been socialised to behave a certain way. But I think we don't have to be kind of tied down by these experiences. We can learn something different if we like to. It might be useful just to recognise that we have a past that has this stuff, whether or not it's family, whether or not it's to do with genders, to do with culture, whatever. Let's recognise that happens to us, and maybe has led us to feel uncomfortable about what is an important part of life. It sort of just happens. We can learn to do something if we'd like to. So let's do that. Let's. The fact that you're on this course indicates that you want to do this. You want to be better at this. I mean, people think that I'm doing this course, that I learned to be a mediator and to be involved in conflict because I was good at conflict. That's not true, actually. Everybody, I think I started to learn all these little skills, these little chunks of information, techniques to help me be better at conflict because I naturally wasn't good at conflict. Quite fearful about difficulties, about challenge, and all those sorts of things. So I learned ways around it, and I think we can all learn something if we'd like to. So, congratulations for keeping going this far with this course. So let's give ourselves a break. What we'll find is that adults really like to be competent. We like to feel on top of things. Being in conflict or people being cross with us or having difficulties, having difficult conversations, having to take difficult conversations to our staff or to service users or whatever, we feel it's a challenge, and maybe we don't feel competent, and therefore that's awkward. Let's give ourselves a break. There's a danger of feeling shame in relation to this. Maybe we should have been harder. Maybe we should have been more compassionate. Maybe we should have listened more. Maybe we should have been able to tell them what they should be doing. Let's give ourselves a bit of a break. Let's celebrate what we've achieved. Let's be kind to ourselves in relation to this difficult area of life. Okay? Let's give ourselves a break. So here's your reflective task. Once again, more noticing. Notice the sensations you experience when you're in conflict. Notice what you say to yourself about yourself as well, and maybe try to do something different. Tell yourself something different. These are sensations or information rather than truths. Apply a convenient belief. That was a great one last week, wasn't it? People are doing the best they can with the resources at their disposal. Let's apply this to ourselves. I am doing the best I can with the resources at my disposal. I am doing the best I can. That's true. True of me sitting here now, and I know it's true of you when you're having these difficult conversations out there. So one final message, one final piece of homework is just be kind to yourself. You haven't got to be hard on yourself. Thank you very, very much. As usual, questions, comments to me at Replace Dynamics at the email there or on the or by phone. I'll be on the chat room on Monday night, as I usually am. Thanks very much for those who signed on there, and thanks very much for those who sent feedback about the course. It's just great to hear from you all. Thank you very much. Have a great week, and I'll see you again next week, next Monday. Take care.